Hello everyone and welcome to round 4 of F1 esports and my home GP of Silverstone, of course. And, well, it wouldn't be Silverstone, it wouldn't be Britain, it wouldn't be the UK without a bit of dribble and a bit of rain to go with that. So we're starting off the Q1 session in full wet conditions as it's going to be transitioning over to intermediates towards the end of first qualifying here in Silverstone track. British GP, of course. As you can see, we're provisionally 17th actually, but that changes quite a lot with how the track is going to be in its certain condition. As you can see, we're already 2 seconds up on our lap time, and we still have another lap of fuel to go, so we can definitely improve as this session goes on. 2.4, 2.5 seconds up on our delta, 2.6 at the start finish line, and going 13th actually, What's not optimal, it's not good, it's not great for where we need to be at this situation. We've got more than enough time on the board and we're readying our car, readying our tyres, got the battery to 100%, got the fuel nice and low ahead of our final run here in Q1. And we're P14, so it has to be nailed. No mistakes can be made in the process of hitting these apexes, getting back on the throttle, getting back on the brake pedal as we're trailing it in to the corner here into the first sequences of apexes here in sector 1. Not really picking up the best rotation, quite a bit of understeer, but quite a lot of traction as well. So a lot of understeer, but a lot of traction to compensate for that. Let's see if that combination of car setup can deliver one of the fastest possible abilities to go around the Silverstone circuit. So far, we're marginally up on our delta, what's not looking too good, but I know I can find a bit more time on the traction here, and we have done so, almost a tenth up as we're flying down into the top corner. In the dry, easily flat out in qualifying conditions. In the rain, it's a bit more of a difficult sequence, a big lift on the throttle, back to the power, and your confidence is almighty there. Another finding just under a tenth in that one corner alone through Mags and Beckett, again throwing the car in with supreme confidence, letting the front axle just stick to the road. Bit of wiggle on the exit, but we are 3.5, 4 temps up, purple in the middle sector in fact, and 3.5 temps up comparing to Jarno on the top left, who is currently sitting P12. So now we're P14, 4 temps up on the delta. We just need to settle the car through these final sequences of corners, and then we should be easily through into qualifying 2. Back on the power one more time, through the right hander, run up to the line, and that puts us provisionally P5, what should be more than enough to put us through, and it is more than enough to put us through. First lap in Q2 on the worn set of tyres, just because I knew the track would be changing quite a lot, so no point using a fresh set. As you can see, 7 temps difference already, as the dry tyres are getting, well, faster and faster and faster as we progress onto the session. But ultimately, the dry tyres were not fast enough at the end of the session, and we opted to stay with the intermediates. But it is very clear that the last car across the line will have the best track conditions to do their lap on, and thus the best chance to go through to Q3. So right now, it's all about trying to find the optimal track conditions, track position as well, without compensating too much from your tyre temperatures and your warm-up procedure of the car in general. As you can see now, I've got my tyres in a decent window with 26 seconds on the board. So I'm more than happy with this track position. I'm more than happy with this scenario. It's time to get back on the throttle, unleash the power, and adapt to the changeable conditions as we go on. You can see almost a tenth up on the delta already, flying down through turn 1, flat out, and just keeping it within bounds. The white line, if we go over it, the track will of course invalidate our lap. Through the first sequence again, picking up the apex quite nicely, less understeer compared to last lap as well at the end of Q1. Nice traction. We have the McLaren, I believe it is Lucas Blakely, just up ahead of us as well, so it's a nice reference as we're almost 1 second up out of the first sector split and going green on the delta, and now letting the car rotate through Brooklands and Luffield. Again, just picking up a bit too much understeer. It's not optimal. It's clearly not the fastest solution in these conditions. Ultimately, though, if we could pick up good traction, the compromises that we found in a practice session, what was doing in the build-up event, allowed for a very stable and consistent car. So we're going to be relying on that. We're going to be pushing that and trying to extract as much performance as we can from Mags and Beckett, throwing the car in. You can see the confidence of the front axle just steering and letting the front guide its way into the apex and going green in the middle sector. It doesn't really mean too much right now, of course, because the times are changing so fast and the track is evolving as we're 2 seconds up on our delta. Final sector split has to be nailed. We do not have time in the pocket. We do not have the opportunity to relax. So now, as we're going in, nailed that first apex through the right hand and nicely back on the power. 2.3, a little wiggle with wheel spin, pushing the traction limits all the way up to the line. And we are going provisionally P3, what would be just enough to be putting us through by 5 milliseconds compared to actually our teammate Thomas Ronhaar. And now Q3 is full dry conditions. You can see me on a wet track with the dry tires just weaving about, trying to get a feeling for the car, the track, the conditions, and ultimately how we can extract the most performance. As has been the same in Q1 and Q2, last car across the line will have the best track conditions, so it's all about optimizing that while not compromising your warm-up procedure once more. Again, 26 seconds on the board. I am happy with my track position, and now it is time to maximize this lap, adapt to the changeable conditions. It's not quite full dry grip right now, so it will be all about just trying to maximize it. Easy flat through turn 1, already was on the intermediate, so I can already feel the car understeering a little bit though, so it's not quite optimal. Hard on the brakes with the right hand. Again, the front is not picking up. It's not getting the bite, the traction that I'm looking for. And you can see again understeering. And in hindsight, looking back, we shouldn't have gone for a full dry wing setup. We should have compromised, added a bit more wing as a compensation. But of course, you can't know the track conditions exactly. So we did our best with the guesstimation of the track before going out on track. But you can see it's biting us, it's hurting us, it's not giving us the grip that we're looking on the front axle. And almost doing an invalidation, running off the track, but just about keeping it in bounds. Coming up to Cobb's corner, will we take it flat out? We do indeed. Downshift to 7th, and you can see the front axle just pushing once more. Magazine Beckett's, what can we do through here? Again, little twitch of the wheel on the entry, and again the front is just not biting, and we're trying to slide the rear to get a little bit of rotation out of this. A 3.0 middle sector split, what is not optimal. It's not full dry conditions, as I already said. Into Stowe corner, you can see the understeer is still there. It's not good, it's not quick, it's not precise. And now into the final sequence of corners, again throwing it in. Maximum track width used there, couldn't use any more. Hard back on the power. So in terms of racing lines and getting the car to its maximum grip potential, it was a good lap, but we are just not there on the raw setup pace for this lap. And you can see ending up P10, what was a bit of a disappointment, to be honest. 3 attempts away from pole position, so definitely work to do with the changeable conditions and the car setup potential. But now we are on the grid here on the hard compound tyres. P10 on the grid. We've got Freddie Rasmussen just ahead on the mediums. Tom Manley on the softs. Thomas Ronhaar, Alfie Butcher on the hard tyres just behind us, and we're able to get a very nice start as well. Looking around the outside of Freddie Rasmussen, a big snap of oversteer, and now Thomas is on it inside, and we're going to open up the gap, go for the space around the outside of Freddie Rasmussen. Deep on the brakes, and now up the inside of Tom Manley as well. Can we make it stick? We can't. Just the hard tyres not giving us the grip potential that we're looking for at this very moment in time. You can see ultimately just trying to slip back into the slipstream of Tom, make sure that we don't give Freddie an opportunity to go past us on this straight. As ultimately, the hard and medium compound tyres do have a little bit of difference at the start of the race. But if we can hold position, as speak about holding position, Tom Manley, Barry Booman rubbing wheels on the exit as well. And Tom Manley is able to get the position versus Barry. As I was saying, the medium compound tyres are definitely faster at the start of the stint. But ultimately, we have a good chance to stay ahead of them and could be quite critical for race strategy later in the race, as you will see how it plans out versus Freddie Rasmussen especially. But right now, what I want to do is settle into my track position, start managing the battery, start managing the tyres, not letting my engine overheat in this situation as Freddie's trying to look around the outside. We squeeze the gap, we close the gap, and now we're able to retain P9. So ultimately, while starting on the hard compound tyres, we've been able to gain a track position, what is a very successful lap in my opinion. And now, like I say, it's all about managing the situation and putting ourselves in as great position later in the race as possible. You can see, lap 5, we're still all over the back of Bari. I've been managing my front tyres, so now you can see the grip potential that we have through Mags and Beckett, and quite easily able to follow within 2/10 of Bari, what will be very nice later in the race. Lap 9, I decided to drop back a little bit more just to manage that front drop-off period, as ultimately now a lot of cars are peeling into the pit lane. It's going to be opening up a lot of opportunities for us to deploy the tyres that we saved, the battery that we saved, and ultimately make this stint of the race as fast as possible. Coming across the line, and now you can see later on lap 10, I'm behind Bari, and Bari does not have the DRS to Jarno Opmeer ahead, what's going to allow us a great opportunity. Check the engine temp, it's still within a decent engine window. To be honest, if the engine goes too hot, you start losing power, and once you start losing power, obviously you start losing lap time. And now you can see Freddie Rasmussen putting a bit of pressure behind, and we're able to slip past Bari on the straight. What I wanted to do here was actually work with Bari and use the slipstream to try and catch Jarno up ahead, and ultimately make this phase of the race as fast as possible. Jarno was absolutely flying though on those medium compound tyres. You can see lap 11, Bari is right up behind us. We was using a bit of battery just to ensure that Freddie couldn't slip past us on the straight, and we could maintain working with Bari on a similar tyre set. You can see a little weave there, what is a trademark in the sim racing community, to basically say, hey, I want to work with you, let's go forward. And now you can see we decided not to go past Bari, as I think he used a bit of battery at the start of the straight to defend, and ultimately he will be peeling off into the pit lane this lap. So definitely was a smart decision from him to not lose track position before going into pit. Lap 13, this will be our pit lap. As you can see, box this lap to my engineer, and now just trying to keep the position versus Freddie, as I don't want to lose track position right before going into the pit lane. The same situation as Bari last time, slip in the rear, looking for the maximum performance. Late call into the pit lane just to try and do a fake, trying to do a dummy, and you can see we only just got the car slowed down by 2 miles an hour. We were underneath the limit. You can see quite a few cars follow us into the pit lane on this lap. So it's looking optimal for us. The race is looking very good. Bari will be coming out just ahead of us on a fresh set of medium compound tyres. But with our lap fresher tyres and a lot of cars behind us, it's going to be putting us in a very good position to try and work our way forward into some solid points-paying positions, which is, of course, always the objective. Coming out of the pit lane now here at the start of lap 14, you can see provisionally P15, but as the pit stops start to work themselves out, we'll gain and gain and gain more positions. And now you can see right behind Bari, just by over a second, Bari was able to clear Wilson though, and now we're comfortably in the slipstream of Wilson. This is a really interesting dynamic of the race now, of F1 sim racing in general. You can see a lot of times teammates helping their other teammate by going long and blocking people, i.e. a prime example, Ulat's last race, and I was very aware of Wilson doing the same tactics in this race, so we decided not to burn our battery down the straight, and ultimately tried to keep our battery for a better opportunity. Just in case Wilson does try to hold us up, we can fly the battery and push the battery to go flying past him on the straight and lose minimal time. We're right up behind Wilson right now, and you can see we're very close to actually losing the DRS to Bari, so I knew I had to get a move on. Wilson now is flashing on the battery, meaning he's under 10% deployment available, and now we're going to go to the inside. He's going to squeeze us. We're going to be brave under the brakes, and now we are able just about to keep the DRS to Bari. Don't let Wilson do the switchback. Take the racing line back, and now we are all the way past into provisionally P12. But as I say, as the pit stops start to work out, we'll gain many positions and back comfortably into the DRS of Barry Brewerman up ahead. 5.2 seconds to Tom Manley, who was starting on the soft compound tyres. So me and Barry have a bit of work to do to bridge that gap. But ultimately, one of the biggest factors that will help us bridge that gap is Jarno Opmeer behind us on the soft compound tyres. And now I had a strategy in place. You can see I wanted to stay behind Bari on this straight because I wanted to be the person that followed Jarno and was taking the main advantage from Jarno's DRS as he was catching the leading pack. So now you can see deciding to go past Bari with a good bit of battery available for us to use later in the stint. Jarno is now one position behind Bari. Bari decides not to go past me, and now Jarno sends it up the inside of Bari as well into the left-hander, and this is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I needed in this race right now. So you can see I'm draining a little bit of battery just to make sure I can stay ahead of Bari on this next zero straight, as that'll be vital. A little weave to Jarno basically saying, go on mate, I'm not racing you, I don't need to fight you right now, and we're in a very different racing situation. You can see draining a little bit more battery, critical run through Max and Beckett's to ensure the gap to Bari is as big as possible as we come out of this sequence. You can see 6 tenths to Bari, and now that is comfortably ahead, and we're just letting Jarno go by, because quite simply, he's not our race, he's not the person we need to fight, and ultimately we have far more opportunities to gain positions consistently by working with Jarno than working against him right now, and that has worked a treat, as I was saying, using Jarno to work our way up to the catching field up ahead of us, and now we're all over the back of Tom Manley, right in his slipstream, and now deploying a little bit of battery, and we're going to do a little bit of trickery through turn 1, now back on the battery, downshift to 7, get the RPM, get the torque, get the power, around the outside, deep on the brake, and now around the outside of Tom, all the way on the outside curve, and now up the inside, squirt the throttle, and now we have got the position done into P7. And now deploy a little bit more battery just to ensure that he can't come back at us on the exit. And next up is going to be Josh Idaru, and you can see our fresher tyres are allowing us to be all over the back of him as we're on lap 20. Deploying a little bit of battery to see if we can catch him napping, but ultimately he's a very smart racer, so nothing to do there, no opportunity as we go forward. But now a new opportunity will arise, as you can see up ahead, a bit of carnage, and now Lucas has been tapped with the Mercedes, I believe it was. I'm not too sure who it was, if it was Daniel Bresley or Jarno Otmir, but nevertheless, now you can see 3 cars in close proximity. All of them are going to be draining battery, and I play it different. I play it smart. I start cooling my engine. I start gaining my battery back, because ultimately I know there's more to gain in the future by being smart with my battery rather than just burning it all, trying to send a lunge what might end up in a crash. So it's all about sometimes playing the long game. Sometimes you need to be smart, sometimes you need to be dynamic, sometimes you need to be critical. And speaking of critical, down the inside of Josh Idaru, trying to make him a bit nervous, trying to get him to think about defending for me, and this is exactly what we're doing. We're turning on the battery, and we're going to try and do what we did to Tom Manley to Josh Idaru as well. Check the tyre wear, check the grip that we should have, downshift, back on the power, back on the battery, fake down the inside, around the outside, around there, keeping it in, a little bit of a squeeze, but ultimately now down the inside, and now that is going to be position done, and a little flashback to Austria, and now we're able to squeeze into the outside, as quite simply the stewards allow it. So not really something I like to do. I prefer to leave the space, but the stewards allow it, and you have to take advantage of every opportunity you can in a series this competitive. Once again, I must say that they did fix this going ahead into Event 3, so the stewarding was a lot more, well, harsh and consistent in that way, so it got better and better as the season went on, at least in my opinion. But now we're on the final lap of the race. We've got Lucas up ahead, who's going to be a much more older, much more worn tyres compared to us. We've got about 48, just underneath 50% battery to deploy as we go on. I don't know how much battery Lucas has, but this is going to allow me to be all over the back of him. At least having 30% gives me a chance, and only a chance, to be close to him on the back straight. Through Max and Beckett, you can see just flying through here. Maximum commitment now, using up all the curbs on the inside and outside. Couldn't have really carried much more speed through there. On the battery, now Lucas starts flashing, and now I'm starting hunting down the back straight, trying to be as close to him as possible. Through the right-hander, in the dirty air, bit of a wiggle on the exit for the rear tyres that are struggling for grip. We're going to fake a move down the inside. Lucas is going to bite the bait. It's going to go wide, and we're going to try and do the switchback, and ultimately get up the inside. There's going to be wheel-to-wheel contact. It's going to be a run to the line, and we are just about going to get past Lucas for P5 in the Silverstone GP, and we're going to take a flashback look at that as well, so you can see what happens in slow motion. Lucas goes wide. I sense my opportunity. I go for the switchback, and right now it's going to be at the run up to the line. It's going to be all or nothing, and you can see I feel like I held my line, and just from how natural racing works on this corner, we tag in the corner, we tag with the tyres, and ultimately start rubbing together. So as the steward said, it was a racing instant, but we was able just to get past. Leave down in the comments what you think about that instant. Ultimately, me and Lucas had a hug after, so it was all good. But able to secure P5 in this race, so we're working ourselves really forward in a really smart way, in a really safe way as well, not really putting our car in risky positions, and able to be really critical with the overtakes that we've done. So hopefully you've enjoyed this race. Hopefully you enjoy these F1 Esports highlights coming out, and I will be uploading them every day until the end of the season has been reached. So 12 days in a row, you should be getting F1 Esports highlights at 4 p.m. BST as well. So until the next video, gracias, and I'll catch you next time. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.